Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls patch notes. That's right, Summerset is officially out, guys, for PC. It is live as of, I think it's live, I'm not sure. They were still patching last I checked. It's still patching. As you can see, it's still in progress. I'm going to go ahead and refresh the page just to make sure. But as you can see, it's still in progress. So I want to go over the patch notes because there was some interesting changes made last minute, but I do want to go over the patch notes anyways, just to bring you guys some information. As you guys can see, it says, welcome to Elder Scrolls Online version 4.0.5, our next chapter, Somerset, and for the first time in history, the long closed-off borders of Somerset are open to foreigners by decree of Queen Irene, but darkness looms over the ancestral home of the High Elves, and whispers stir of Daedric followers organizing in the shadows. So in this update, we are getting the Psijic skill line, we are getting jewelry crafting, and we are getting a few other things. So let's go ahead and just get down to the meat of it. Somerset Zone, a new chapter in the Elder Scrolls Online, suitable to characters of all levels. You can travel Somerset by a few different means: way shrines, create a new character, or accept the Queen's Decree quest from the story section in your collection's UI. Excuse me. The new chapter includes a brand new tutorial for new players, zone story content, 6 delves, 6 world bosses, and 2 public dungeons. Abyssal geysers, providing a new group challenge. They are pretty fun. You guys might like these. They did tone them down a lot, and I'm not real happy about that. New item sets found only in Somerset, detailed below, and new outfit and housing rewards for completing select achievements and quest content. So first off, the Psijic Order skill line, we get some new abilities: Time Stop, Imbue Weapon, Acceleration, Mend Wounds, Meditate, Undo. I've already covered all this, and it's a pain to unlock, but it's still going to be something I'm going to be working on today. Cloud Rest Trial, new 12-man trial, awesome trial, and it's a lot of fun to play through. New jewelry crafting, and as you can see, it tells you like the different levels of elements, all the way up to the max CP level, which is Platinum, which is CP 150 to 160. Jewelry crafting is a lot different than jewelry, than all the other crafting. It's only got 5 traits to it, and some other stuff. New upgrade materials for it, new crafting materials, and new traits. They added 6 new traits with the jewelry crafting, and I'll get down to those right now. We have Arcane, Healthy, and Robust, which is our standard. We now have Trirune, Harmony, Swift, Infused. To get these, the Trirune drops in a Gladiator's Rucksack, obtained from Conquest board dailies in Cyrodiil. The trait material, Dawn Prism, is purchased from the War Researcher in Cyrodiil for 100 AP per unit. You will have to do quite a bit of PvP to get one of these to drop. They do not drop constantly, guys. Harmony drops from Undaunted chest rewards and Undaunted camps near capitals. The trait, the Deadlam, is also found in the daily dungeon looking for group reward mails. So you have to do the daily dungeons. My advice, do it on normal. Don't even waste your time doing it on veteran. This way you're going to get one of these things from it. The Harmony ring, it's like the Harmony ring and necklace, is going to be found in the chest. They say rarely. They're pretty common, to be honest. The Swift is from jewelry crafting writs, and this allows you to move faster and everything like that. And then Infused, you'll find these in the Psijic portals all over Tamriel. But you can't get the Psijic portals to show up until you have the Psijic Order skill line. So in order to find these, you have to do the Psijic Order skill line, and this is going to be a really popular one. The next one is Protective. These ones drop by completing Somerset main quest and the Psijic Order quest lines. They mean the main quest for the story. You'll get a necklace or a ring, I think. And then, yeah, and the necklace is obtained by completing the full Psijic Order quest line, which is the quest line for the skill line. The material, titanium, is found rarely in precious metals, seems. Rarely, yeah, it's pretty rare, but you'll find it. And this one gives you resistances. And then, of course, there's Bloodthirsty, which is another one is really popular. This one drops from the weekly trials reward boxes, and from the Slaughterstone, can be found in the found in those same reward boxes from time to time. So, but you're going to get more of the Slaughterstone than you will the rings and necklaces. So it says, once a trait is researched, you may use any transmutation station to change traits on jewelry. So any trait can be transmuted. Moving on to the 10 new item sets available. 3 item sets from crafting, 3 from the world, and then 4 from the trial. The 3 crafted sets are Adept Rider. This gives spell and physical resistance on the 2 and 3 piece. 4 piece is max health, and then the 5 piece, while mounted, you gain major evasion, increasing your dodge chance by 15%. Dismounting spawns a dust cloud at your position for 12 seconds that deals 1,436 physical damage every 1 second to enemies who stand inside it. You and your group members inside the dust cloud gain major evasion. The dust cloud can be created once every 12 seconds, so unless you're like jumping on and off your mount, it's not really like a good set, but it has its places. Slowed Simulants, this is going to be a really popular set in PvP for a while. And I say a while because people are going to, you know, use it and be like, oh yeah, I'm over powerful, and people are still going to be owning them, and it doesn't matter. So 2 piece, 3 piece max magicka stamina, and then 4 piece is spell and weapon damage, and then the 5 piece damaging an enemy has a 10% chance to put Leeching Shadow on them, dealing 853 oblivion damage every 1 second for 6 seconds. This effect can occur every 6 seconds, and it is almost constantly up if you have several dots on your enemy. Nocturnal's Favor, this is the nethercrafted set. Stamina recovery, 2 max health, and then when you successfully dodge, heal yourself for 4,000. This effect can occur once every 2 seconds. This is actually a really good set for dodge tanking, but yeah, we'll see how it turns out. Not a lot of people are going to use it, probably. The Summerset Zone Drop sets, the Wisdom of Vanus. This is actually a pretty decent set for a beginner healer. So you get max magicka, magic recovery, max magicka, and then after landing a fully charged heavy attack, you gain major mending for 3 seconds, increasing your healing done by 25%. The duration is increased for each rank in the Restoration passive Essence Drain when using a Restoration Staff. The Medium Armor Griffin's Ferocity gives you weapon crit, and then weapon damage. After dealing direct damage, gain minor force and minor expedition for 3 seconds, increasing critical damage done by 10% and increasing your movement speed by 10%. This is actually a really good set if you're doing like solo play and you have, you're trying not to burn through pots for resources, return, things like that. This set is actually really good because it gives you that minor force, pretty much 100% uptime. Because direct damage is any light or heavy attack, so you can keep this up all the time, pretty easily. Grace of the Gloom. This is the heavy armor set. This gives you max health, healing taken, max health, and then when you take damage from a single target direct attack or ability, you have a 10% chance to gain, to become a living shadow, causing your light and heavy attacks to heal for so much, and gain major evasion for 5 seconds, increasing your dodge chance by 15%. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds. The best class I found this to work on is the Warden, and that's if you're using the minor evasion with it. It makes the Warden like super dodgy without having to dodge roll. So this is really good for a Warden in a dodge roll tank build. So yeah, really good. Not Nightblades don't need this, but Wardens do take a major advantage of this. The other classes can work off of it, but it depends on how you set it up if you want to play it that way. I will be covering this in a later video. So trial sets, these sets are based off of the 4 Griffin Riders. So the first one is the Mantle of Soria. This is going to be really popular for magic damage dealers. The 2 piece gives you spell damage. The 3 piece gives you minor slayer, increasing damage done by trial monsters. The 4 piece gives you max magicka, and there is a hidden 5th piece on the perfect set. So the perfect set does get a an extra 5-piece bonus, and they don't show it here, but it's extra max magicka, and dealing direct damage with single target abilities creates a ring of fire beneath you for 10 seconds. Standing in the ring grants you 30 spell damage. This effect can stack up to 20 times for a total of 600 spell damage. This is why a lot of people are switching over this for the end game is because it just gives you an absurd amount of spell damage. The next one is the Healer's set, and this is the Vestments of Olorum. This set gives you Magic Recovery, Minor Aegis, which everyone used to say was garbage. Now they're saying it's like the best thing on the market for you to have. Magic Recovery, and then the 5-piece extra bonus is going to be Max Magica, and then the actual 5-piece bonus is Ground-Based Effect. Abilities cast, apply Circle of Might on the ground. Allies in the circle gain Major Courage, granting 258 weapon and spell damage. If you guys didn't know, Major Courage is a new buff that's being applied to both this set and Spell Power Cure. So, Spell Power Cure is now going to grant this Major Courage, and Spell Power Cure is still a good set to use till you can get this set. And once you get this set, Spell Power Cure is garbage. Okay? If you're talking about real in-game popular playstyle, this is going to be the main set everyone's going to want, and they're going to want on one character. Now, the one thing they don't show us here, and I don't know if it's been changed, is the time limit that this lasts. They might have brought that down from 30 seconds down to like 15 or something, because that was really OP, and you could cast it and not have to worry about casting it again for a long time. But it pretty much, you had 100% uptime of Major Courage no matter what. Arms of Reliquin. This is another set that's really popular, or was in PTS testing. The 2-piece gives you Weapon Critical. 3-piece Minor Slayer, increasing damage done to dungeon and trial mobs by 5%. Another 4-piece is Crit. So very much, if you guys look, this is very much like, say, Night Mother's Gaze or Hundings, where it gives you the 2 things of crit, but this one instead gives you this amplifier to your damage of 5%, only to dungeon and trial mobs. But the 5-piece is what everyone's looking at, and this is what everyone's freaking out over. Light and heavy attacks apply harmful winds to the target for 5 seconds, dealing 200 physical damage per stack, stacking up to 20 times. So 20 times 200, that's a lot of damage that this can do. It used to be a lot higher. They brought it down with this launch. So with this launch, they brought it down a lot. This was practically gutted. But it will still be probably the main set most stamina DPS used, because it's a large amount of physical damage. Moving on to Aegis of Galawin. This, or Galawee? Galenwee? This is another set that was looked at as a popular go-to tank set, but the idea of it changed during testing. A lot of people were like, it's not that good. But basically, the 2-piece is health, the 3-piece is Minor Aegis, also reducing damage taken from dungeons trial mobs by 5%. The 4-piece is healing taken. The hidden 5-piece was health, also. And then the 5th piece, the actual 5th piece, after successfully blocking, you have a 50% chance to empower 3 allies. Empower increases the damage of your next light attack by 40%. The thing is that in the new trial, you don't block a lot, so it's not a widely used set. This will be popular in certain things like the axes, in AA, in one of the bosses, I think it's in Hellrust Citadel, Sanctum Ophidium. This set will work really good in Craglorn areas, but anywhere else, not so much. Maybe Maw, but you won't see a lot of people really running this set. It's like any other Trials tank set, you know, it's all garbage, even though they're actually really good. So moving on, new collectibles. The Big-Eared Kitten Pet is earned by finding 7 runebox fragments containing its collar, sleeping basket, milk saucer, and other necessities in the Karn Wasten public dungeon, and combining them into a runebox. Just like in Morrowind, we had a runebox where we could get a mini pet. We have the same thing here, or we could get something. The slowed dorsal fin memento is contained by completing the quest and an unexpected betrayal in the Karn Waste public dungeon. The Psijic glow globe emote is earned by finding its 7 runebox fragments in the Sunhold public dungeon. And the Griffin Feather Talisman memento is obtained by completing the quest Sunhold Sundered in the Sunhold public dungeon. The new Trials has a new collectible trophy. The Zamaj is obtained by completing the new Cloudrest Trial on any difficulty. The collectible Bust is in the Veteran difficulty, and then the skin is only in the Veteran hard mode when you get the Cloudrest Vanquisher achievement. The new quest things that you can get is the Psijic Skullcap hat, earned by completing the quest Towers Fall in Summerset. The face imprint of the Psijic Order, a face marking collectible, is obtained by completing the quest the Shattered Staff in Summerset. If you guys seen some of my some of my videos, you would have seen the markings on my face that were glowing. That's what that was. The body imprint is also earned by completing the quest The Tower's Remains. And then the Mystic Eye Psijic Cuirass, a outfit style, is obtained by completing the Crystal Tower in Summerset. And then the Warden's Gauntlets, an outfit style, is completed the Lost Translation in Summerset. And then the Fan of False Face, a collectible furnishing, is obtained by completing the Relics of Summerset achievement, which is the museum thing. Psijic Portals. These are going to be a new resource node in the game. Once you unlock the Psijic Order quest for the Psijic Order skill, you'll be able to see this. These portals allow you to find enchanting resources near ancient ruins, destroy buildings, or other relics of the past. Psijic portals contain items based on the location you find them in. So any item set that drops in a certain location, you can find any piece of that item set through Psijic portals. This is going to make farming for gear in any location really easy, because you just farm these portals and you'll be able to get this stuff really, really fast. Aspect runes is never a taw white rune. It's always a green to gold quality. Essence runes currently in the game, including rarely prismatic rune, you can get from these. And then the potency rune is based on the level of your passive rank in a 50-50 split. Rarely, you'll obtain a motive chapter, the Psijic Portal. The motive chapter is the motive found within the zone. For instance, Psijic Portal in Clockwork City will grant Clockwork Apostle motive chapters, and so on and so forth. Psijic Portals also may include jewelry or item-associated traits, pulverized amberic amber or refined amberic amber, as noted in the jewelry crafting section. Very rarely, Psijic Order portals will contain a single draught of Psijic ambrosia. Abyssal geysers. So, Abyssal geysers are one of the new challenging group content things they added, and they're not really challenging. They're really fun to play, but there's a lot of different things you can get from these. You can see you can get the Wisdom of Vanos set, blue quality. You can get up to purple quality, they're not telling you the truth. And you can get, like, the monsters will drop an item set, the jewelry, enchants are blue quality or among other loot. And then the boss fight at the end, the geyser, the Shell Trove, has additional wards. Another set ringer necklace, a Psijic motive chapter, or a chance of a unique clammy furnishings. There's 2 new houses that are being added with Summersets, the Alinor Crest Townhouse and the Griffin Crest Garret. There is a 3rd house that is coming, but it's not in the launch. It's probably something that's going to come later. And then we have the Pandonian motive. This is a Fisher folk, so you have to get the Fisher thing for this area, and you'll be able to get this motive. So, it's a pretty cool looking one. Base game. Battlegrounds are moving to the base game, by the way. Crown Store gifting. We will be able to gift Crown Store items, which is real cool. Daily login rewards. This is another really cool system. It kind of incentivizes you to log in every day. New motives. We are getting a lot of new motives. The Psijic motive, the Serapich motive, and then the Fang Lair and Scalecaller motives are being added. We're getting new achievements. The Fledgling Style Master and the Grand Master Crafter. Things. Grandmaster Crafter actually gives you a one-handed skin for the Skyforged Smith Hammer. It's like a lightning hammer. It kind of looks like Thor's hammer. And then we have New Alliance and Battleground collectibles, new alchemy regents, lots of things to do with clams and fish and all that. New champion point increase. The champion points now 750 is the cap, and we got 30 new points. So any of you that are still working towards the cap of CP, you're still going to be working. And those who are after are still going to gain. So, new changes to some other places. They did some fixes, improvements to Clockwork City, Dark Brotherhood, Dragon Bones, Imperial City, Morrowind. Morrowind got some really interesting changes here, like the Justice System, Monsters, General Halls of Fabrication, improved the game performance during an encounter with refabrication committee. Lots of interesting things here with that. And then Orsinium got some new changes. Shadows of the Hiss, Thieves Guild, pretty much in every DLC. Now we're getting in the big changes, the combat and gameplay changes. So first, combat balance changes. They rebalance light and heavy attacks, damage scaling ratios, so light and heavy attacks now scale their damage in the same way to normal abilities. Max magic and max stamina is now greater, contributing factor towards their damage. Rebalance light and heavy attack damage weapons types to reinforce the concept of light attacks are for dealing damage, and heavy attacks are for restoring resources in general. This means light attacks with one-handed shield, dual-wield destruction staff, bow, restoration staff will deal more damage with light attacks. Light attacks with two-handed weapons deal, they say less damage. It's very slightly less damage than what they did before. And then heavy attacks and destruction staves and restoration staves will deal more damage, and they do deal more damage. And then heavy attacks with two-handed, one-handed, and shield, dual-wield, and bow weapons will deal less damage. So here's the thing you have to understand. A lot of people are saying that like two-handeds are garbage now. They're actually almost on par with dual-wield like they were before. They're just a little bit less. They're still pretty good. I still like them. Adjusted the ability to dodge various abilities and item set procs. The following can now be dodged: Deathstroke, Summon Shade and its morphs, only the pet's attacks. Maw of the Infernal, only the pet's melee attacks. The following cannot be dodged: Arrow Spray and morphs, Overload and morphs, Noxious Breath, Puncturing Strikes and morphs, Razor Caltrops, Eternal Hunt, Defiler, Hands of Mephala, Krogs, Poisonous Serpent, Roar of Alkaz, Cellatrix, Sheer Venom, Spawn of Mephala, Stormfist, Thorvakin, Tremor Scale, Twin Sisters, and Widowmaker. Those all cannot be dodged. Now, they did make a major change to the Shadow Mundus Stone and how, like, Minor Force and Major Force work. These no longer affect critical healing, it's only critical damage. Moving on to another thing that was changed, some player abilities were changed, improving unpopular abilities and morph choices. Most of the abilities tweaks are targeting underused skills or morphs that we found few players utilize, increasing the viability of all classes to perform the tank and healer roles. Some classes have received significant updates to help improve their ability to tank and heal dungeons and trial content. Reduce the effectiveness of long duration snares. A few snares have had their strength reduced to better balance their high uptime on enemy targets. And in DPS balancing, some abilities and item sets have had their damage values and procs adjusted to improve the damage disparity between magic and stamina builds. Other changes were focused on creating better parity between melee and ranged buffs. So, starting with buffs and debuffs. Empower. This used to increase all damage after heavy attacks. So, or after when it would proc. But now it only applies to your light attacks. So this buff category now increases damage done of your next light attack by 40% instead of increasing the damage done of any attack by 20%. So that's a major change. Minor and major force. These categories now only affect critical damage and do not affect critical healing. Dragon Knight got some really good changes, mainly towards their healing capabilities. So Carterize increased the range of the heal in this morph from to 28 meters from 15. Combustion, this passive ability now restores 250 to 500 magicka or stamina, 500 at max, points into it. And when you apply the burning or poison status affected enemies, these effects can occur once every 5 seconds. Trust me, every 5 seconds you're going to get 500 magicka stamina. It makes them really capable at self-sustaining now. Empowering change. This morph now grants 2 stacks of Empower buff, up from 1. So when you hit with Empowering change, you will get 2 stacks, so you can get 2 light attacks off and get that benefit. Shifting standard, decrease the cost of this morph to 225 from 250 ultimate. Draconic power change to Reflective Plate. This morph now removes all snares effects from you when you cast the ability. Really, it's really powerful and really good, especially in PvP. Earth and Heart, Ash and Cloud. This ability now heals you and your allies in the area and snares enemies. Note the Eruption morph remains unchanged. Cinderstorm, the morph now increases the healing done. So this is pretty crazy. It's really powerful. Obsidian Shard, increase the healing done by this morph by approximately 25%. So Obsidian Shard now has major mending on it. Obsidian Shield, this ability now grants you major mending for 2.5 seconds as a baseline effect, but no longer grants you stronger damage shield that absorbs 200% more damage. In addition, we've also made adjustments to both morphs. So Igneous Shield is the one that grants you the 200% more damage absorption, and Fragmented Shield increases the duration of major mending. Fragmented Shield is made more for healers, while Igneous Shield is made more for tanks. Now, you're not going to see a lot of healers, like DK healers, running Fragmented Shield if there's a DK tank in the party, especially at trial level. It's just not worth it. In dungeons, it's, again, not worth it. Shattering Rocks, this morph has been redesigned so that when the stun ends, it causes the enemy's next attack to heal their target. That's actually kind of cool. And then the Stone Giant morph. This morph now also grants minor ward and addition to minor result. So they really beefed up the DK into more healer. They didn't have to change a lot of stuff on the tanking side because it's already a super tank anyways. So this is really good for this update for healers and tanks on the DK. On the Nightblade though, Assassin's Blade, this ability and its morphs now deal their bonus execute damage when the target is below 25% health, down from 26% health. Lotus Fan, the snare applied to this morph was now reduces movement speed by 40% instead of 70%, which is much better. Bolstering Darkness. Now this is a really powerful change to this ultimate. This morph now causes the major protection buff to remain on you even after leaving the area. The buff will persist for the duration of the ability. So you can just set this down and your allies can run through it and everyone gets major protection for the duration. And they don't have to stay in the circle. Dark Cloak, this is like the uber ability for the Shadow Knight. This makes them super tanky now, and it allows them to keep a 100% uptime of their major resistance buffs. So this morph no longer grants invisibility. Instead, it heals you for 32% of your max health over 3 seconds and grants you minor protection for the duration. So for those 3 seconds, you do get this, and it actually goes up to 3.5 seconds, so... Dark Shades, renaming this morph to Dark Shade singular because this morph now summons 1 shade instead of 2, and the shade will occasionally deal a point-blank area of effect damage around it. So, Manifestation of Terror reduced the arming time of the traps created by this morph to 2 seconds from 3 seconds. Path of Darkness, they reduce the damage and healing done by this ability and its refreshing Path morph by approximately 5% and reduce the damage done by Twisting Path morph by approximately 9%. Really, you don't notice a difference. It's still really OP. The morph can now be cast without an enemy target, so Shadow Image. Siphoning, lots of great changes. Debilitate, this morph now refunds 100% of the casters, or the cost if the enemy dies while they're affected by it, increased from 50%. Malevolent Offering, this ability is morphs now smart heal an ally in front of you instantly instead of healing a specific target over time. Each cast of this ability will place a damage over time effect on you that drains your health over 8 seconds. It's not much, guys. It's like 700 health every second for 8 seconds, and you'll heal that with all the healing you have. So it's Malevolence Offering is the best like Nightblade heal ever. It's super OP. It's like their version of Breath of Life, but it's single target. Soul Siphon, increase the radius of the heal applied by this morph by 28 meters from 15 seconds. I don't get it, but whatever. This is actually pretty good. And then Strife, this everyone's mad about this. You don't notice it, honestly. Like, that's such a little bit of magicka increase that it's not even funny. It's still overpowered. Moving on to the Sorc. The Sorc got some major overhauls when it comes to a lot of things, and we'll go into that. So first off, Blood Magic. Increase the healing done with this passive ability's procs to 5 to 10% of your max health, up from 4 to 8. This makes it so you can pretty much self-heal yourself a lot easier. Daedric Mines, they decrease the cost of this ability and its worth to 5,400 magic from 6,480. Negate Magic, increase the duration of this ability and its worth to 12 seconds from 10 seconds. So moving on down, Persistence. This passive now reduces the cost of your next magic or stamina ability used within 4 seconds by 7 or 15% after you block an attack. Restraining Prison. The morph no longer snares enemies. Instead, it now gives major vitality for 2 seconds plus 1 second per enemy in the area. It's crazy. Ruined Prison morph. The Rune Cage. This morph now deals its damage when the stun ends, instead of when the stun applies. And then Ruined Prison, increase the duration of the stun applied by this ability and its worth to 5 seconds from 2.5 seconds. This is actually some pretty interesting changes. Daedric Summoning. So this is where some major changes have happened. Bound Armor. This ability and its worths are no longer toggle abilities. Slotting Bound Armor will continue to grant you the increased magicka, and activating the abilities will increase the amount of damage you can block by 20%. So that's what it does now. Now, Bound Aegis now grants Minor Ward and Minor Resolve while it is slotted. Bound Armaments, this converts to a stamina ability and increases your chance to increases your damage done with light attacks while slotted instead of heavy attacks. And it's only 11%. But you still get the magicka and stamina bonuses. So Bound Aegis still gives you 8% max magicka, and Bound Armaments gives you 8% max stamina, just for having it slotted. So you will have this slotted on both bars. The difference is that whenever you activate this ability, it now gives you this 20% blocking, which makes these guys amazing tanks. Conjure Ward. Increase the strength of the damage shield summoned by this ability and its morphs by approximately 10%. Really good. Just crazy. And Harden Ward, they decrease the morphs bonus to your own damage shield to 20% from 30%. It was really powerful, but that's pretty good fix. Summon Storm, they increase the health of the Atronach summoned by this ability and the charged Atronach morph by approximately 70%. This thing's a beast now. Summon Unstable Familiar. This pet summoned from this ability now has a basic area of effects special ability that can be cast while the pet is active. So it's got a new area of effects special thing. Same with the Winged Twilight. It's crazy. These things are really good now. They should have upped their health though to make them more viable at the end game though. But now that Hardened Ward is actually pretty good, you can keep Hardened Ward on you and your pet, and you can keep them alive pretty much forever. Lightning Flood. This morph, it now also increases the damage done by approximately 15%. So Lightning Flood was the Lightning Splash morph. This just covers a greater area, but it does more damage now. Templar got some interesting changes. Burning Light, they increased the damage done by this passive ability by approximately 9%. Trust me, you notice it. Piercing Spear, this ability now only affects critical damage and not critical healing. Puncturing Sweep, increased the healing done by this morph to 40% of the damage done from 35%. It's really good now. And then Dawn's Wraith, Enduring Rays. This passive ability now increases the duration of Sunfire, Eclipse, and Nova abilities by 2 seconds instead of a 15 to 30%. It now increases the duration of debuffs applied by Solar Flare and its morphs. Solar Disturbance. This morph now increases the duration of Major Maim debuff. It applies to 4 seconds. Solar Flare, this ability and the Dark Flare morph now grant Empower buff instantly after being cast instead of when the projectile hits the target. Restoring Light, this is where some people say it got some nerfs, but I think it actually really balances out. They reduced the healing done from this morph's secondary heal by approximately 33%, so Breath of Life Rest Ceremony isn't going to be really powerful. Hasty Prayer, Healing Ritual Morph. This morph now grants Minor Expedition to you and your allies for 5 seconds. And then Healing Ritual is now an instant cast. So this ability and its morphs no longer have a cast time. They are an instant cast. And the heal for the same amount. The cost has been increased to 7,290 Magicka from 3,780 Magicka. It's a very costly heal, but it's the best heal you have. So, really powerful. Honor the Dead. This morph now refunds part of the ability's cost over 6 seconds, down from 8 seconds. This makes this a really powerful ability on tanks. So, if you're playing a Nightblade or a Templar tank, this is really good now. And then Warden got some changes, guys. Some really crazy changes. Deep Fissure. This morph no longer stuns enemies. Stuns the closest enemy. It instead applies Major Breach to all enemies hit for 5 seconds. Screaming Cliff Racer. Instead of the travel speed of the Cliff Racer by approximately, they reduced it or increased it by 33% to make up the fact that it can be dodged. So it makes it a little bit easier to dodge. And this one, the Subterranean Assault no longer applies Major Breach to all enemies. It only applies Major Fracture. The duration has been reduced to 5 seconds, down from 10. So it's still there, it's still good, and it still works really well. Green Balance, Bursting Vines. This morph now grants 10 ultimate when used on an ally under 60% health and adds a 4-second cooldown. Nature's Grasp. This ability and the Nature's Embrace morph now grant 3 ultimate when the healing over time completes. And then Winter's Embrace got some really interesting changes. Arctic Wind increased the healing done by this ability to 12% of your max health from 10. Crystallized Shield, they increased the ability, the cost of the ability is worth to 3,240 from 2,701. And then Frozen Gate. This ability and its morphs now deal frost damage to the enemy when the trap is triggered. And that's on both morphs. So, new changes to some of the weapon things. Shield Charge has increased the duration of the stun to 3 seconds from 2 seconds. Deadly Cloak reduced the damage done by this morphs by approximately 15%. You don't really I'm going to say it's lower, but you don't really notice it. It still does a lot of damage. Rending Slashes. The snare applied by this morph is now reduces movement speed to 40%, down from 50%. And then the Rapid Fire. This ability and the Toxic Barrage morph now grant crowd control immunity while you are channeling them. So you cannot be like knocked off balance, all that kind of stuff when you have those going. Fighters Guild Silverleash, the best morph change in the game. This is the Silverbolt morph. This ability will now fire a bolt upon hitting and damaging the enemy will instantly pull them towards you. It works just like Chains does for the Dragon Knight. So this is awesome, and it is a stamina cost ability. Werewolf had some interesting ups and downs in this update. They finally got the light and heavy attack thing fixed, but this one, the morph now deals full damage to the primary target and partial damage to secondary targets, rather than hitting the primary target twice with brutal partial damage. The total damage dealt remains unchanged. The Lady has been changed in the champion point system. This ability now requires you have a Frost Staff equipped to obtain its bonus instead of requiring the Frost Staff and Tri-Focus passive. So now you just need to equip a Frost Staff. It also still applies to shields. Combat fixes and improvements. There's a lot of this in here. Fixed an issue where charge abilities, Critical Charge, Focus Charge, and Shield Charge would charge you directly inside of the target player character. They fixed an issue where blocking to cancel a channeled ability would occasionally cause you to get stuck blocking for a second. Thank God they fixed that. They fixed an issue where holding down the heavy attack would not cause you to perform a heavy attack. These were all Summerset PTS fixes. They fixed an issue where the summon permanent pets, such as Summon Unstable or Feral Guardian, could allow you to have a pet summoned without the ability slotted on your bar. They fixed an issue to prevent you from targeting allies with friendly abilities while the enemy stood between you. And they fixed an issue where the passive abilities such as Scaled Armor were not granting enough resistances to max level characters. They fixed all this stuff, which is good. Dragon Knight got a few changes to Shifting Standard, Draconic Power, Spike Shield. a lot of these things are just fixes, so we're just going to kind of skip through a lot of this. I do want to go over one, Deep Slash. They fixed an issue where the morph wasn't applying minor maim to the primary target, but it was to the two low, like, enemy side ones. Now it applies to all of them. I didn't notice this when I was testing. And then Defensive Posture, they fixed an issue with the visual effects from this ability, and Defensive Stance Morph were not being removed if you recast the ability multiple times. So, really good that they fixed those. Lots of fixes in the Destruction and Resto Staff stuff. Resto Staff heavy attacks wouldn't play correctly when cancelled with Blessing and Protection. Yeah, I think they need to look at the difference of damage of Resto Staff and Destruction Staff. For some reason, Restoration Staffs hit for a lot more in damage with light and heavy attacks. World, Soul Magic, fixed an issue with the Soul Strike, fixed an issue with Vampire Mistform, Werewolf stuff, Fighters Guild, Mages Guild, blah, blah, blah. They just fixed a bunch of stuff. Itemization balances. This is the one that's got everyone really going, what? So, two-handed bow, destruction staff, and restoration weapons now count as a two-piece towards any item set bonus. So now when you have a two-handed weapon equipped, and let's say you're wearing like Night Mothers, or you're wearing like Hunting's Rage or something, you can actually use it and get the benefits of it, because it's going to count as a 2 or 3, you know, like as where it says two-piece bonus. Just equipping the two-handed sword will give you that. So any two-handed weapon will give you that bonus. Decrease the strength of snares applied by hindrance poison to 40% from 50%. Item set changes. Master, Maelstrom, Asylum, all this stuff, they talk about it. Since two-handed weapons always grant 2 pieces of an item set bonus, the change purely cosmetic. Archer's Mind. This item set now only affects critical damage, not critical healing. Coward's Gear. This item set now requires you that you are both sprinting and moving to obtain its bonuses. Cruel Flurry. This item set now only works on damage over time abilities you cast from your bar, and not damage over time procs such as Twin Blades and Blunt. Earth Gore. This item set now heals for the same amount over 6 seconds instead of 3 seconds. They say it was really bursty in PvP. It's still going to be bursty in PvP. Hircine's Veneer. This item set now reduces the cost of all stamina abilities by 4% instead of increasing stamina recovery by 12 for you and your groups by 12%. This is basically like Spell Power Cure or Worm Cult, but it's going to be the stamina version. Won't see that, trust me, in PvP in dungeons or trials, guys, unless you're playing like a Warden stamina healer. Mechanical Acuity. This item set now only procs on direct damage instead of all damage. That was a major nerf to Mechanical Acuity. Mechanical Acuity still works though for those running like a Force Pulse staff and stuff like that. Night Mother's Gaze. This item set now applies major fracture to the enemy when you deal critical damage instead of reducing their physical resistance. Prisoner's Rags. This item set now requires that you are both sprinting and moving to obtain its bonuses. And really, my neighbor's out mowing the lawn, I think, or doing something. Sunder Flame. This item set now applies minor breach and minor fracture to the enemy when you deal damage with a fully charged heavy attack instead of reducing the physical damage. And they increase the flame damage from this to 4,000 from 744. This is actually still a good set to use. It's just not going to be used by a lot of the in-game popular builds, and neither will Night Mothers. Item set fixes and improvements. Akavari Dragon Guard, they fixed that. They fixed Blessing of Panitas finally. Bone Pirates, they fixed. Caloran's Legacy, they fixed. And Cruel Flurry, Galaran's Revenge, Jovield's Guidance. This is actually really powerful now. They fixed an issue where this item set was not increasing the duration of Major Slayer and Major Aegis. And it also works now with the Olorum set and with like Spell Power Cure at keeping the uptime. This is going to be like the main set a healer's going to run off of Olorum, and then they'll run a monster set most of the time. Shroud of the Leech, they fixed an issue where this item set's procs was not increasing your out-of-combat magic recovery. And then moving on, Alliance got a lot of amazing amazing, like Alliance War, like PvP stuff, got a lot of really good changes towards the PvP aspects. I'm not going to go through it all. There's a lot of changes in here. One of the things I do want to mention is they had added a new daily quest with a new quest board. This quest includes an old favorite such as kill 40 enemy players, but also includes capture any 3 keeps, capture any 9 resources, capture any 3 towns. Any quests are a new quest combination and a must capture unique structures, meaning that you cannot get credit by capturing Alice Way 3 times. The quest will rarely grant costume pieces for Cyrodiil, the Gladiator's helm, all that stuff. And I think this is the new thing that you have to do for that tri-room. I'm not 100%. So lots of interesting changes there, lots of art and animation changes, combat and gameplay stuff. They changed some stuff with the justice system, monsters, NPCs, lots of things there. Crafting economy, new motives will now contribute to your chance to acquire Master Writs, Apostle, Bloodforge, Dreadhorn, Ebon, Shadowfang, Skullcaller, and Wormcolt. Dungeons content. The following dungeons have been adjusted to CP 300 in order to queue using the activity finder: Bloodroot Forge, Cradle of Shadows, Falkreath Hold, Fanglair. All the DLC dungeons require you to be CP 300 in order to queue in Dungeon Finder now. Dragonstar Arena, your character is no longer inexplicitly be killed by a tiny corner of the staging area of the final arena. Trials, Hellrose, the Yokida Kai will now constantly grant points when defeated. Sanctum Ophidium fixes. Lots of just minor fixes. Housing got a lot of fixes. They did a lot of performance fixes. Increase the amount of CPU cores used by the client, which will improve overall frame rate. And then quest zone fixes, lots of that. Lots of UI things. Gamepads, those who use gamepads on the PC will be happy. A lot of fixes there. And then that's pretty much it, guys, for the new patch notes to Summerset. There is a lot of other things I could have covered here, guys, but honestly, there's so much in here that is changing with a lot of different things. I'm not a PvPer, so I don't need to cover that. I'm mostly a PvE person, so that's why I covered most of these changes here. I know a lot of people aren't happy with some of these changes or with a lot of this stuff, but to be honest, I think a lot of these changes needed to happen for the betterment of the game. And to be honest with all of you guys, now all the classes are capable of in-game healing and tanking and being viable. DK is still going to be the primary go-to tank for most trial groups. Templar is still going to be the main healer for most trial groups, but you will see more people using the other classes in those systems, in those things, which is good. And we just got a really good update this time. I mean, the storyline for Summerset is amazing. The content is really well done, and it's just a really good update that we needed. Jewelry crafting is changing the game in more ways than I can tell you. The Psijic order skill line, for those who want to really utilize it, it can be really good for you. And yeah, just overall, it's a really good setup. So, but unfortunately, that's it, guys. I'm sorry about the lawnmower. I can't control what my neighbors do at what times of the day, so I do apologize for that at the end of this video. But I just want to say to you guys, thanks for watching. It's been an amazing 1 year since Morrowind, and this game has gotten a lot of really interesting updates. They've really tried to balance out a lot of things, and they're really trying to make the game better for all players, not just certain crowds of players, which is really good. And I'm really excited to get in and start playing Summerset now that it's hopefully, I'm hoping, officially live. Yes, it is. So go get on Summerset and start playing. But if you guys want to check out the patch notes, you can through this video. So that's pretty much it. So if you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, you can hit that subscribe button. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day. And this guy might see you in game. Bye.